Dawn of Mantis is brought to you by Redbeard Sound. Redbeard Sound provides music production, audio editing, and live sound engineering, and is where Dawn of Mantis records our podcast. You can find Sam's information on our website, dawnofmantis.com, or at redbeardsound.com.
Extra, extra! Dawn of Mantis now has a merch store. There are t-shirts, long and short sleeve, as well as hoodies. Just go to dawnofmantis.com and click the t-shirt link. And while you're there, you can check out our Patreon.
One day, a while back, roughly 3 years ago, there sat two gingers named Ivan and Joe. When this pair, who had been friends for quite a long time, had an idea pop into their minds. Since they were always sitting and talking a spell, they figured one day they may just as well record themselves talk as the hours would pass and release these gap sessions as a variety podcast. In hopes that some folks around the states and the nations would find entertaining some of these conversations. For 2.5 years they dad-joked and tea-kettled and remained quite convinced their dynamic was settled. Until one day Ivan exclaimed, "Joe, come here! The sound guy we know with the fiery beard?" "Yes," Joe replied, "Redbeard Sound Studio." Ivan finished his thought. "He should join us, you know." "Tally-ho!" they exclaimed as they high-fived their hands. And that's how they gained their third ginger, Sam. With their third partner found, their trifecta complete, these friends grace the studio week after week to talk about basically whatever they want, like specters and ghosts and the houses they haunt, and about disappearances and mysterious deaths, tantalizing tales that makes one hold their breath, murder, true crime, innocent blood spilled, serial killers and the victims they killed. We hope you enjoy all these yarns that they spin, perhaps even enough to listen again. Now enough of this origin story, my friends. Turn up those car stereos, get those earbuds in. Let's finally get to the topic at last and start this episode of Dawn of Mantis podcast.
Quiet your mind.
Ever since the earth has circled the sun, there have been fantastic tales of wonder and mystery that the faint of heart dare not discuss. But brave, uninformed souls have the brass to tackle every extraordinary happenstance, from the modern age to the dawn of Mantis.
Welcome to Dawn of Mantis. That's right, you're not hearing the crispy, delicious voice of Ivan. You're hearing Joe. I'm taking it over just for tonight. Hope everyone's doing well. Ivan, how are you?
I'm great. I didn't know my voice was crispy.
And delicious.
Yeah, but the crispy part surprised me more than anything.
Sam, how are you?
I'm back and ready to go.
It's been a long night, guys.
It's been like, technically breaking the fourth wall, it's been about a month.
It has.
So
it has.
I'm excited to get this thing going again.
We're also joined in studio, Redbeard Sound Studio, by the way, by the inventive, the curious, the formative James Dunham.
Hello.
We've already been in here for an hour, but we're
Yes.
pretending like we're starting over. Leave that in. It's all good. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the mysterious disappearance and the unfortunate death of a singer from Scotland named Scott Hutchinson.
Yeah, it wasn't fortunate. Unfortunate death.
Yeah, did I say fortunate?
No, but I'm just saying you made sure to make that way in case family was listening, you didn't want somebody to think we were just fine with it. It was unfortunate.
Don't you ever correct me on air again.
No, I did not correct you. Now, some serial killer that gets the death penalty, then you could say the fortunate death.
The fortunate death
of that guy.
Of Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fortunate.
But this was unfortunate.
Yes.
This guy was super cool.
Yeah.
He really was.
Okay.
You can look if you look up Frightened Rabbit or Scott Hutchinson interviews. You can learn a lot about this guy.
Cool.
We're gonna cover his story tonight.
I'm interested.
Are you?
Yes.
All right. How about you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. I promise I am.
All right. Scott Hutchinson was born on November 20th, 1981 in Edinburgh, Scotland. He was raised in the town of Selkirk, along with his two brothers, Neil and Grant, of which Scott was the middle child. Although he was very close with his brothers, Scott shied away from other children and avoided socializing from a very young age, preferring to play by himself. In fact, Scott was so put off by people that his mother often referred to him as a frightened rabbit. So you remember about 32 seconds ago when I mentioned frightened rabbit?
Yes, I did.
Remember that, guys.
Okay.
Keep that in your craw. Scott was a sweet and sensitive boy, but the family could tell very early on that he was a little different than his peers. Throughout his childhood, he suffered from anxiety and night terrors. His mother said that he could go to sleep easily enough because at that time the house was still lit and there was activity from his brothers. Did I say activity?
Yeah, that
There's
works.
a V in there.
That works.
Who went to bed later. Do you guys remember, did anyone have any problems going to sleep at night when they were a little kid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still have to sleep with the TV on. Like
Me
I
too.
And the fan. Like I have to have something going.
I do too.
But like I need to have fan going, but I also need to have TV. Like not the noise. Like I can even turn the volume down some, but just to have like movement.
You know what I read
Anyway.
about that? Because I'm the same way. I read, and I forgot where, but just trust me on this one, that it's because you can't quiet your mind.
That's exactly
why.
why.
So you shift that instead of quieting your own mind, you're like listening to something else or someone else.
That's exactly why. I mean, I
mean,
know
that's
that
not a bad
because-
thing. I don't think. I mean, you sleep soundly once you fall asleep, right?
Exactly.
So I mean, I don't think it's a bad
And if I were to lay there with the TV not on, all I can do is think about things I need to do.
That's right.
Like, oh, I got to get this. I've got a show coming up that I got to run down for. Do this. Do I have everything I need? All that, and like my mind's constantly going. If I turn that TV on, it'll take me less than 5 minutes to fall asleep.
So do you have a trick if you don't have a TV or a fan or anything? Because I have one and it kind of works.
I have an app.
No,
that
but I mean,
makes noise.
let's say you have nothing. Let's say if you go camping and you forget your phone or it's dead and you don't have headphones or something like that. And my wife, I can't have something playing or she's like, turn that off. I can't sleep. So
yeah, I've read that if you like breathe a certain way,
yeah, breathing techniques. I've heard of
take
that.
deep breaths and hold them in for like 10 seconds. If you do a few of those in a row, it can make you more sleepy.
Yeah.
It doesn't work for me, but
I play a movie in my head and it works. I've had to do that a few times. Think of a movie that you've seen 1,000
I would have
times.
to do like Tombstone.
Yeah.
Or Remember the Titans.
Just do this, try this, and tell me if it works, if this ever happens to you. In podcast land, you guys too. I'm giving advice now, and I'm not qualified. Imagine yourself putting the tape in the VHS. For some reason, I go back to that. I don't go to DVD.
Yeah.
And then just imagine yourself pressing play, and the credits come up, and the movie starts.
Hey, I like whenever I was in school, because you brought up VHS tapes.
Sure.
I used to every night put in the same movie, and that movie was Rookie of the Year. and that was the movie that I would fall asleep to every night.
Put you at ease, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I would do that, not with that movie, but with
guess what my
with
granddaughter...
a movie, a certain movie, yeah.
My 6-year-old granddaughter has fallen asleep, too, for years.
What?
Paul Stanley.
Kiss meets Scooby-Doo.
I was on the right track.
I've actually seen that.
You got it.
Yeah, it just, puts your mind at ease. Anyway, but that's kind of a trick I've done before when I have nothing.
So my trick is 30 milligrams of melatonin and 2 Benadryls.
That should do it.
In about 15 minutes, I'm asleep.
Wow. I've always been the type where if I lay down, I have to have a fan as well. Actually, not a fan anymore. My wife bought me this little speaker that's just white noise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But with mine, it's nothing about my mind because Jesus Christ knows it's blank most of the time. I have tinnitus. Like my ears ring really loud all the time. So I have to have some kind of white noise to block that out, or
You're
else.
in good company with that, though.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
There's a whole list of musicians that have tinnitus that.
Well, I've had mine since I was 9 years old, and what mine was let's put ourselves there. It's the 4th of July, 1989.
I was going to say firecracker. I think you've told on the podcast.
I have.
You should
I'm
tell
sure I
again.
have. I
That's
only
good.
have 3 stories.
It's good. It's good. Keep going.
It was my family's 4th of July thing, and I had a funny idea that, those really long clusters of black cats that you would light off and they would just go forever. My cousin Raymond was standing there watching the fireworks,
kind of with his ankles apart. And my thing was, I'm going to crawl in between his legs and light the black cats off where they go off right under him. And so I remember to this day, man. I crawled under his legs. It was dark, obviously. I lit him. And you ever lit a firecracker that had a fast fuse?
Oh, yeah.
So like the instant that flame touches it, the firecracker goes off. So that's what happened. I lit it, fast fuse, it starts pop, and then he starts to freak out, obviously, and falls on top of me. And so the whole thing goes off just right by my ear.
Wow. So
that's why, 32 years later, I'm sitting here right now. If I think about it, I can hear the ringing still. I mean,
Wow.
if it's ever quiet, it drives me insane.
I bet.
So I have to have white noise all the time.
Hey,
Then
Anthony
Joe was
Kiedis has tinnitus.
Anthony Kiedis does?
Ozzy, Phil Collins, Bono, Neil Young, Eric Clapton,
Whoa.
Brian Johnson from AC/DC, Bob Dylan,
Okay.
Jeff Beck, Eddie Vedder.
Basically all good musicians.
You're going to
James
be in the Rock
Hetfield.
and Roll Hall of Fame.
I know. No kidding, man. Wow.
Yeah.
So that's something I don't have after
You don't have it.
45 years of loud rock music.
This is 30 to 50% of professionals in the music industry experience tinnitus.
And see, what pisses me off is when I've had this conversation with other people, people will go like, "Oh yeah, I know, I have it. I know what you mean, like when a gunshot goes off." And I'm like, "Yeah, except for your
Ever.
ringing goes away after a few minutes." I've had this ringing for 32 years. You don't know what the hell I'm talking about,
I had that for like 10 minutes one time.
Yeah,
it
I've
was
had-
insane.
I've had people say that. I know what you mean. It's like, no, you don't.
We're
Not when you
kindred spirits, you and I.
Dude, no, even like if it just hits me at weird times because you kind of forget about it, but it's loud. Like if you stop and focus on it or whatever, it's loud.
Mm-hmm.
But I after 30 something years, I've kind of gotten good at tuning it out. But it's in random spots where it's like my wife is like, I'm going to run into whatever store. And I'm like, I'll just sit in the car. And so I turn it off and the windows are up and I'm just sitting there and it's quiet. I'm like, oh God, I really notice it then. So I've got to have sound going constantly or it's just unbearable.
Wow.
So yeah, tinnitus. How'd we get on tinnitus? What happened?
The sleeping thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I've just got to have white noise. Mm-hmm. As long as I've got a little bit of white noise, I'll go. I'm one of those.
Not brown noises so
not
much.
brown noise.
Yeah.
Those are hilarious.
Yeah.
But not like conducive for sleep. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. They keep me up.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Dude, right now,
They get me pumped up.
no one gives a shit about this, and I'll start reading the notes again. But oh my God, my wife and I, we slept on this dog shit bed we've been together 15 years. We slept on this dog shit hand me down, like one of her uncle's brothers, cousins, ex-nephews, mother-in-laws had this mattress that they gave us that was like 50 years old. We slept on that thing forever. And so 5 years ago, we were like, we're buying a bed and we're going uptown, right? Mm-hmm. So we went and spent $3,200 on this, it moves you up in 14 different positions and it vibrates and it heats. It does all this crazy
sleep
shit.
number?
No, it's not one of those, but it's like a fancy bed, right? Because we're doing it right, finally. And so the thing is now, I've kind of gotten spoiled to it because right now the thing is I'm laying in bed. My wife bought these self-cooling pillow cases where they really are. They just stay cool. It's amazing. I don't know how it works. I've got that. The bed's vibrating. It's got 4 different zones and 4 different intensities of vibration and everything. It's fantastic. And I got my white noise, and that's how I go to sleep. If I got all 3 of those things, boom, I'm out in 5 minutes.
So you're saying you could never travel in sleep?
Yeah, it's done. We're done.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The bad thing about that is that we've got one of those sleep number beds, and
What's your sleep
we've had
number?
it. Mine's
That's personal. Do not ask that.
Oh, sorry.
Jesus
Sorry.
Christ.
my sleep number is 35.
Okay, there.
35.
You look like a 35.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought 38, but whatever.
So those beds train you to where you can't sleep on another bed.
Yeah, because we'll go to a hotel.
Right, and it's like, oh, I can't sleep on
Yes. I'm just because we were just in Branson last weekend, and I'm just oh my God.
So the Sleep Number CEO was probably a drug dealer before, and he's like, well, I need to find a legit. It's like, well, I'll get him hooked on this bed.
we'll give you a 38 for free.
Yeah.
And then you won't be able to sleep in on anything else.
There is a hotel in Fayetteville that has sleep number beds.
Oh, there is?
Cosmopolitan.
That's smart.
I think there's one in Branson also.
Wow.
That is smart because they get they probably have to, it's like they get a sponsorship kind of. Here's a bad segue. What were we talking about on the episode?
Sleep number beds.
No, on the episode.
You know what I was talking about? Scott Hutchinson.
Oh,
We're
yeah,
good.
yeah.
It's
See,
good.
we're back. We're back.
It's good.
It's good. So, we were talking about how he had anxiety throughout his childhood, right?
Okay, yeah.
It was hard for him to go to bed. It was easy for him to go to bed when the house was alive.
Sure.
People are still up. There's still clinking and clanking going on. People are making drinks and whatever happens. What?
Oh, no, that's interesting.
It is.
Because I would be like, man, I wonder what's going on down there. And then, that would keep me up. I'd want to go see what was going on.
There was something when I was a kid that would help me. I segued back into it, but I'll go back out.
No, I got one too, so keep going.
This helped me when I was a kid. When I couldn't sleep, I thought about people that worked the graveyard shift, and that made me feel better. It made me feel scared that the whole world was going to bed at the same time. I didn't get time zones. I was dumb. But I was like, well, there's somebody working right now, or there's someone like at a convenience store, or there's some guy driving a truck, or I don't know why that helped me. You tell me, but it did.
I think it's comforting to know that, like, I don't know, the world is still kind of moving, and you feel
so it'll
safer.
still be going while I'm asleep, and then I'll wake up.
I think, and I just remembered this, but I kind of grew up going out on the truck with my dad a lot.
Okay,
and so I would get in the bunk bed and sleep.
Oh, yeah.
And so that constant hum of the engine also, I think, was also a comfort for me.
Sure.
Yeah.
And,
so that's what transferred to the...
To, like, having to have some kind of, like you said, like either a white noise or a fan moving or a TV on, like, just because it was always that. I'd always have just some kind of, And in my bedroom... In my old house growing up, I had one of those just like window AC units. Mm-hmm. And so that was always on in the summer.
Oh.
Generating noise.
Dude.
I like those until they kick off.
And there was one in the kitchen just down the hallway from my room. And so I would hear that during the middle of the night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like
maybe
that.
Maybe it's just because there was always some kind of noise.
Sure. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what we were talking about before. What
Revelations.
Were you
Oh, I have like 40 things to say. I don't know if we're ever going to get back to the episode. So first of all, if anyone is so inclined, you can go back and listen to an episode of our podcast. Was it called The Ghost on Hall Hill Road or something?
Oh, yeah.
Listen to that. Solo. Yeah. One thing I needed as a kid in order to sleep in my room was a parent. Because I'm not kidding. Take it for what you will. Believe me.
I get it.
Think that I was hallucinating. Think that I was schizophrenic. You can think whatever you want. But when I was a kid... All I will say is I lived in a super old house and weird shit went on in my room until I was like 13 or 14. I would not sleep I either wouldn't sleep by myself, or my parents put a couch in our den, which was only a wall separating from me where they were sleeping. So I would sleep on that couch. And even then I was terrified. I'm not joking. It was till I was like 13 years old or so. I would not sleep alone in my room.
Is that the house on Hall Hill Road?
That's it. What episode?
53 and a half.
53.5, yes.
But that's Joe all by himself.
That's just me reading.
It's a special episode.
16-minute episode.
That's it. So, that had me shit scared. Like, I'm kidding. Like, my mom left a Bible by my bed. Like, she would sit in there by me, and it was so sad, because she would even, like, I'll give you 50 cents for each night. You can sleep in here by yourself. She would say that. And it just wouldn't work, man. I was just so freaking scared.
Where'd you spend that $1?
Yeah, right. And I never got up to $1. 2 nights in a row? What? So there was that. And I don't remember where else I was going with that.
I feel you. I was always afraid when I was a kid. So whenever you say that kind of stuff, I'm not going to make fun of you, because I was afraid all the time.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Constantly. So anyway. However, the problems occurred in the middle of the night after he went to sleep, in the darkness of the night when Scott would wake up scared and alone. Okay? Thus would begin the nightly game of musical beds, as his mother would call it, where Scott would crawl in with different family members because he was too afraid to sleep on his own. Been there before. His parents had hoped that he would grow out of these bad habits, but unfortunately his mental health issues would plague him for the rest of his life. The boys, along with parents Ron and Marion, eventually moved to Glasgow. As Scott entered his teens, he developed a strong love for music and learned to play guitar. Some of his influences were Ryan Adams, Laura Cantrell, and Wilco. A couple years later, while Scott was studying illustration at the Glasgow School of Art, he began to sing along with his guitar and began to compose his own music as well. Meanwhile, both of his brothers were also learning to play guitar and drums, although it was Scott who pursued music the most seriously out of the group. Although he had been very gifted at painting and drawing since early childhood, Scott later said that even though he studied illustration for 4 years, he never particularly wanted to work in that field. Instead, he applied the rules of what he learned to writing music.
Do you guys like Wilco? Do you know who that is?
Yes.
Yeah. There's kind of like an indie rock.
I didn't know Laura Cantrell, did you?
No,
but
I recognize that
okay.
one. Ryan Adams for sure. But
oh yeah, for sure, Ryan Adams.
I just thought I would ask because that's I'm kind of more in, I like the classic. I love the classic rock, obviously, but I like some of the indie stuff like that too. Singer like I guess it'd be indie rock.
It is, yeah, Wilco definitely. And by the way, for those listening, he said Ryan Adams, not Brian Adams.
Yeah.
There's a pretty big difference, even though I like Brian Adams.
Yeah.
But Ryan Adams is very different.
It's like a knife.
Yeah, that's different. Look up Whiskey Town, an old band. No, I'm just telling the audience. Look up an old band called Whiskey Town.
Yeah.
That was one of Ryan Adams' early efforts. That was fantastic.
You told me about Ryan Adams.
Yes.
A time ago, yeah.
He's got a lot of good songs. And we need to look up some Frightened Rabbit too after when we get into it a little more because you'll hear the influences. At the age of 21, Scott formed a solo project, and that's what he called Frightened Rabbit. Now, this was the name his mother had often used to describe him as a child. I watched an interview with his mother after what happened to him happened, and that's what she said. She said, he was always just like a little frightened rabbit, He was just scared of everything as a child.
Was his mom Mrs. Doubtfire?
Yes. Oh, you Virginia Doubtfire, yes. Soon after, he was joined by his brother, Grant, who played drums, and so he was no longer solo. The pair honed their craft, and after a couple years of writing music and performing live shows, they recorded their debut album called Sing the Greys in 2006. Not long after, they were signed by Fat Cat Records, an independent label based in Brighton, England. Sing the Greys was reissued under their label, and after adding guitarist Billy Kennedy, the group began working on material for a follow-up album. Let's look up Frightened Rabbit, Sing the Greys. Just pick out anything, man.
Me and Snake talk about you every day. I can't wait to see your face, and he tells me it feels the same. We lie awake, we're tired but we can't get to sleep. I'm tired cause I've scraped through the day. He's tired because he's been out late again. And there he lies, staring up with his big gay eye. He whispers to me,
So that's a pretty good representation of Frightened Rabbit. I've listened to several of their songs.
There are times that I'm in the mood for stuff like that. And it's kind of weird to explain. I'm not really listening to it, but I am. I'm not listening to it, but I am. If that makes any sense.
Just kind of playing in the background.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that explained that one well, didn't it?
You did. You nailed it, man.
Nailed it.
Good job, buddy. You did. So yeah, they got Billy Kennedy after that, and they start working on material for a new follow-up album. The second album, for this, the boys left their native Scotland to record with a dude named Peter Caddis in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Now, somewhere during the writing process for the second album, Scott had a falling out with longtime girlfriend Shel Jubin, who, by the way, was on the British version of Big Brother in 2004 and came in 4th place. I actually looked up several videos of Shel Jubin from Big Brother. It's like the British version of Big Brother on YouTube, and there's lots of, she was colorful, I guess. Mm-hmm. She didn't match him, just from what I know from this research. He was just kind of, he would joke, and he could make people laugh, and he was a very likable guy, very, very likable. But he always had this melancholy, like, undertone to him, And he would say that, too. He was just a sad dude, kind of, overall. But this Shel Jubin, like, I don't know, man. I was watching some clips from her off Big Brother, and she was just kind of like one of the crazy gals that was like naked half the time and just like sliding across the floor on whipped cream and just crying a lot. And then it would show her being happy, and then it would show her throwing a wine glass at someone and crying. So
sounds awesome.
You're like, what's her number? Is she single now?
No, as you get older,
too crazy.
As you get older, crazy is a problem. When you're young, it's like, oh, well, you never can tell what they're going to do. Cool. Then you get older, and it's like, you just never can tell what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And that scares me.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just me.
Crazy's never good. But yeah, you just, when you're older, you're smart enough to realize that. Crazy's never good.
Like, well, that could affect my 401k. Somehow. Quit being crazy.
Crazy's never good. Any of you listening?
You're lowering my property value right now.
You're lowering our credit score. If you're with a crazy person.
Well, that's my things were funny, but that is very real.
It is.
Yeah. Very good.
Crazy gal.
Brought it back where it made sense. None of mine made sense.
That's right. No, yours made sense too.
Yeah.
If you think about it. So yeah, anyway, Scott channeled all of his emotions into the record, which was titled The Midnight Organ Fight and released in 2008. The album did well and received widespread critical acclaim. In fact, the album's sales and profits were from touring finally afforded Scott the opportunity to quit his job working in a whiskey shop in Heinlein and to make his living as a full-time musician. Scott was very busy for the next several years, recording 3 more albums with Frightened Rabbit titled The Winter of Mixed Drinks, Pedestrian Verse, and Painting of a Panic Attack. He also recorded with the Fruit Tree Foundation, which is a charity project featuring Scottish indie bands, and contributed guitar and vocal tracks to albums by bands such as The Birthday Suit and Withered Hands. So yeah, Scott also stepped away from Frightened Rabbit to record a solo album under the name Owl John in 2014, and it debuted at number 99 on the UK album chart. He also collaborated with members of another Scottish indie rock band to form the supergroup Master System, which recorded an album titled Dance Music. So, I mean, he was busy, very busy. As productive as he was with music, though, Scott was putting his talent as an illustrator to work as well. He designed the covers for all of Frightened Rabbit's albums, along with posters and other promotional material. He also designed the album art for other bands such as Outline and Stanley Odd, and illustrated several books, including Michael Peterson's book of poetry titled Oyster in 2017. That's also a super weird indie movie, Oyster. Really? No, Lobster, The Lobster. The Lobster with Colin Farrell.
Oh.
You want to see a movie that makes you feel like acid and you haven't done acid? Watch The Lobster.
Okay, I will.
Okay. Throughout all this, though, Scott was still battling mental health issues, such as anxiety and depression. In interviews and during live shows, Scott was clever, charismatic, funny, and kind. But there was always melancholy just under the surface. That's what I literally just said. Now I'm reading my words again.
No, it's okay.
Scott wore his heart on his sleeve. He was open about his issues and very likely helped shed light on mental health for others. Obviously, the public had no way of knowing just how serious things were. Even Scott's friends and family, who were very aware of his struggles, probably didn't believe or want to believe that they could ever overtake him. He was always sweet, always kind, but there always seemed to be despair lurking close by. Scott would sometimes disappear for a day or two, gone away to clear his head. Then he'd show back up with little explanation, but ready to pursue the next project. That kind of sounds like Buddy Holly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does.
That would show up. Well, he wouldn't disappear for a day or two, but like for a night, he'd go driving. In early 2018.
Hold on a second, and you're going to have to reread that.
Yeah.
The plot of The Lobster is if the guy does not find a acceptable replacement, mate, he turns into a lobster.
You get to choose what animal you turn into.
Okay.
Because there's a part where the girls...
Why does he pick a lobster?
I can't remember. He says why. There's a girl that says, because they're talking to each other, it's like, what are you going to turn into? And she says, I picked a dog.
What would you guys pick? What if there was a chance this was going to happen? Which animal would you pick?
Wow.
I don't even know yet.
Yeah, I don't either. I'd have to think about that.
I'd be a bird so I can fly far, far, far away.
Okay, Johnny.
Far, far away from here.
Jody, got yours?
Probably an eagle.
An eagle.
Yeah, just because,
beautiful.
No one can shoot you.
I was kind of thinking of an eagle.
You can fly around. No one can shoot you. Yeah.
Or a Sasquatch.
I want to say a dog, but there's so many mistreated dogs. If I could say I'm a well-treated dog, yes. Like I'm Diesel, I'd be Diesel.
My Pomeranian, yeah. And Diesel hacks when he gets up in the morning. He'll sleep till like noon if you let him, or 1.
See?
And when he first gets up, he'll hack, and he farts when he hacks, too. So he's super old. He does. He'll go, and he'll go,
kind of
poor old guy.
I already am him. Yeah. Sort of. Do that same thing.
Ivan's like, that's exactly me.
Yeah.
I get up, I'm hacking and farting.
limping to the bathroom as you pee and let that first early morning 14-second long fart of the day. And then you're trying to get dressed while all the bones in your body are clicking. It's just growing old is great.
I want to be a young Diesel.
Trying not to fall over while you put on your underwear.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's me.
Oh.
Sam, you said a bird, but were you serious? So you
no.
Far away from me.
I was actually kind of thinking eagle at first, and that's what led me into bird, and then that's what led me into Forrest Gump.
You guys are endangered, though, I think, aren't you?
Birds aren't real, I thought.
They're drones for the government. Everyone knows that. Plus, you don't want to be a dog because you see some nice-looking bitch, and I can say that because it's a female dog. And you're just like, I'm going to slide into this girl's DMs and see what happens. And then, boom, you know what happens to dogs? Stuck together. You can't just go.
I've always wondered if that happened to humans. There would be a lot of weird situations.
Oh, people would make a lot better choices if you had to be stuck to the person. Well,
the husband comes home.
Sometimes you are stuck to them for years.
You know, I've thought about that before.
Till somebody sprays them with water or something.
Get out of here.
Stop it!
One of the strangest things that ever happened to me was that I didn't know that dogs got stuck together when I was a kid, and I thought there was a problem. So I thought I would help.
Oh,
and
no!
Dogs were like biting me and like,
Well, yeah.
I'm like, I'm trying to help you. And trying to pull them apart, and they're like, they're both biting me. Like, hey, leave us alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like 17 and
I'd
I'm like,
bite you too.
No. I'm small. I'm very small.
You scared me. I was like, you were 17, bro?
I mean, I'm not a dumb kid. I actually am a dumb kid. But no one had ever told me. I'd never seen that in science class or well, I'm in elementary school.
You like lay one dog down on the ground and put your foot on it, then grab the other dog.
I
pull him up.
physically tried to separate them. You're right. I did. I was like,
You were.
and
Oh
pushing
my god.
I gotta get my dogs apart. What if they're stuck like this forever?
Oh my god.
How will they find food and water together? They'll have to work as a team. I don't know. I am a dumb kid. I'll say that. Yeah.
Were they
I was a
still
dumb
able to reproduce after that?
Oh, I didn't get them apart. They got apart on their own. Even then, I failed.
Their will was stronger than his.
They're Willie.
So did you go in to tell your parents?
No one was home. It was just me.
These dogs are stuck together. I was trying to pull them apart.
When I was a kid, mom and dad would just leave, and I'm there by myself all the time.
Just pulling dogs apart, doing all kinds of crazy stuff.
Well, I mean, imagine you're the head of the household, and two of your dogs get stuck together.
You got to step in.
Yeah, you do. Well, you don't, but if you're dumb, you do. Thought I was helping.
I need a friend. These dogs are ass to ass. They're one's looking north, one's looking south. What we need to do is get a friend to stand back to back with me, and we throw a bone in opposite directions at the same time, and they take off, and they're popping out. Right?
Seems
That's
logical.
the plan.
Seems logical.
That's the plan.
Oh my God.
I didn't think to do that. Yeah, I don't know. You know what? I forgot. I had forgotten all about that story until tonight.
Apparently so, because Joe's face was as
Yeah, I've never told that one
he had
before.
never heard it before.
Yeah. I was afraid for the dogs. Like it. You know what I thought of was super glue. I was like that thing where you get your fingers stuck together with the super glue.
Oh, yeah.
I thought somehow they got. I kind of knew what they were doing, but I didn't think that was part of it.
Yeah. In early 2018, Frightened Rabbit went on a tour performing their album, The Midnight Organ Fight, to celebrate its 10-year anniversary. Their final show of the tour was at the Academy in Glasgow on March 17th. Just weeks later, Scott sent out a final message on his Twitter account. It read, "Be so good to everyone you love. It's not a given. I'm so annoyed that it's not. I didn't live by that standard and it kills me. Please hug your loved ones. I'm away now. Thanks." And that was his last message.
Wow.
So, to me, kind of an outsider, I didn't know about Scott before tonight. I'm thinking kind of like Kurt Cobain. I mean, was it kind of a similar kind of a situation where it was kind of, the fame and everything was what he wanted, but that was also his downfall as well. Is it kind of that type of situation? Or?
I don't know.
didn't leave a message. I mean, he left that message, but he didn't leave like a suicide note.
Right.
I know with Kurt, there was a shitload of drugs and stuff going on too. So I kind of feel like I honestly believe Kurt wouldn't have done that had he not been so deep into heroin and stuff. I really don't think he would have.
Right.
And Scott, as far as I know, never had any substance abuse problems whatsoever.
Very depressed.
He was just
like a manic depressive.
Yes, I think it came down to just
some
that.
people spike up and down too.
Yeah.
You know, they can be happy or they can be really depressed. You know, 1 minute to the next.
Oh, but believe it or not, I mean, I'm kind of that way. I mean, Ivan knows this, but I've always been kind of that way. I'm either like so far up that I'm annoying the shit out of everybody, like tonight, or, and it's not often, but when I get down, holy hell, like. And I thought it was normal forever until I've talked to therapists and stuff for quite a while now, but I learned it's not normal to sometimes just get up and, you just feel, I can't even describe it, just a complete, utter, abysmal hopelessness. Like it's hard to describe, and you're not even sure why, I really took it down a notch, didn't I?
Well, I mean, it's good to talk about depression sometimes just anyway, not even on a podcast. One thing that I read about at one time that was kind of crazy is that depression is a state in which you're actually seeing things quite clearly to where you're not on an emotional high or low, really. People always think depression is synonymous with sadness, but really it's not. It's just you would actually, if you get in that state long enough, you would actually love to feel sad, but you don't even feel that. Like, and it's to the point to where you're even like thinking to yourself, why am I not sad about that?
Yeah.
But you're not happy either. It's just like you're just like, it's kind of scary to think about.
Well, some people have experienced some really bad things in their life too, and they can kind of like turn off any kind of emotion as well,
exactly.
kind of as a defense.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I wonder if Pink Floyd was talking about that when they wrote "Comfortably Numb."
I think it was about Syd Barrett.
Okay, that makes sense.
Who was, he had his issues,
deeply mentally ill,
yeah,
and he committed suicide too, right?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I do not know.
Oh, I always thought
Sam
that he
can
had.
tell us, the Google master. But yeah, I mean, I've read a lot that it's, a lot of times depression is like a chemical imbalance.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
To where you don't get the chemicals that make you feel good, or however you want to put it. Dopamine, serotonin.
Yeah.
They say those are the feel good hormones. But it also comes down to the person as well, I think, because sometimes they'll put up defenses or not put themselves in certain situations. Not put themselves out there.
And I think a self-check for that is if you have a creative outlet, anything, guitar, painting, whatever, you stop doing that and you stop enjoying that. So that could be a sign that depression is trying to creep in. Mm-hmm. So you need to try to get that back.
Yeah.
Because usually severely depressed people are not creative at all. They don't consider themselves creative. And they've lost that creative edge.
Yeah, for sure.
And it could also be, think of a musician who's maybe set a lofty goal for themselves and they never attain it, and they're depressed because of that. They think they're not worthy,
Yeah. We're not worthy.
I thought of that too. I couldn't help it.
I'm sure there's a lot of musicians where that, that's been the case with them. And, a lot of them have turned to alcohol and drugs and things like that.
Yep.
Because, they feel worthy because they never attained their goals that they had set for themselves, even if they had a great amount of success by our standards.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of different situations where people can be, depressed. I think some people might be born with it,
Yeah.
That's how they are.
I think I remember even as a little kid going through periods of it. But then since then, I've like created my own reasons to be like, with me, there's two things. I just like I said, and it's okay to like, I don't know if there's still a stigma attached to like speaking with a therapist or something. I don't think there should be. I think literally anybody could benefit from it.
There shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Just from life, anybody could. But I've figured out that I just have problems of guilt. Like, I've wronged some people in my life. And some of it's been years and years ago, and I just have trouble letting that go. And then there's the second thing I recently figured out. You ever heard of, like, I think it's called imposter syndrome?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
It's where you don't feel like you're worthy of anything, and you always feel like your friends and family or whoever you're close to is going to just turn on you, and, it's difficult to describe, but you always feel like I don't deserve sitting in this room with you guys right now to do this podcast, and any minute you guys are going to see through me that I'm really just a no-talent dumbass who's kind of like pretending to be, funny or whatever, and you're going to see through that anytime. That's imposter syndrome. It's like you always have this fear that that's going to happen. People are going to see through you for what you really are, and that goes in tandem with super low self-esteem, and the world's going to find out that I'm nothing. It's all goes together like that. So it could have been something like that he had. I don't know.
Well, if you could find a way to do something to knock down that ego, I would say that would be helpful for a lot of people, because that ego is the thing that makes you feel like you're an imposter, because you have an ego that you're not living up to.
Oh, okay.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, because I was going to say, it's like the lack of ego, but I get it. I get what you're saying, though.
Yeah. For example, Jeff Foster, I think that's his name. It's been a long time since I've read anything.
Oh, yeah.
He's like a guru, not a spiritual guru, but he's just basically, and he's selling a product. I'll put that out there. He sells retreats to where you could go and he'll speak and meditate with you. But one thing that he says is everyone's playing a character, and everyone has this ego, and you have a Joe, I have an Ivan, Sam, James. But if you're not being yourself, you feel it, and you think, well, I'm not being a Joe right now. I'm not being what my friends expect. And that will eat at you. That will get, I got to get back to Joe again, or else people are going to, think I'm weird or whatever. But he talks about depression being the state of which you're like, well, I'm tired of playing this character. I need a break. And so you go off by yourself, and that's one time where you don't have to be a Joe or an Ivan or a Sam. You can really be yourself by yourself. So that you're talking about Buddy Holly, like driving away. I hope this is all really deep. I'm sorry, fellas, but this is some stuff I've read about. And
it goes right along with what we're talking about.
But like you're talking about Buddy Holly, like going on drives.
Yeah,
you're a break from being your character. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I think you need a break from that. And depression is a natural break, I think, that your body says, okay, you're done with that. Boom. Let's be comfortably numb for a while.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's my 2 cents.
No, yeah, you've talked about Foster before, and Jim Carrey's into that, too.
Oh, yeah.
He's quoted that exact same passage from that.
Sure. It's just the more I think about it, the more it makes sense to me. So if you want to read into that, you can.
Looping back to Sid Barrett real quick. Shine On You Crazy Diamond and The Wall were both tributes and homages to him, and he died of pancreatic cancer in 2006.
Oh, God, I would have bet anything he committed suicide. Why did I think that? I don't know. That's on me.
Well, because the pancreatic cancer is another just like sudden, it's kind of a blind out of nowhere, it seems like. Kind of like suicide. Like, wow, that happened.
I had to have been thinking about someone else because I thought he'd committed suicide in like the 80s or something.
Oh, okay.
Who am I thinking of? Who knows?
There's no telling.
All right, so.
Sorry, I thought we were done. That's why I rambled on and on.
No, it's good. Who cares?
Yeah.
Ramble on. Just do it, man. So not long after that final message, Scott was seen leaving a hotel in South Queensferry at around 1 a.m. on the morning of May 9th. Later that morning, as everyone began to wake, many of Scott's friends and family were concerned by the message and began to try to contact him. Their concern grew when he did not answer anyone's messages or calls. The Hutchinson family reported Scott missing later that day, and his brother Grant tweeted, and I quote, "We are worried about Scott, who has been missing for a little while now. He may be in a fragile state and may not be making the best decisions for himself right now." Police soon learned that Scott had been seen walking along the Forth Road Bridge, Forth, with two individuals on the night of his disappearance. And on May 10th, they reported that they were searching the area around that bridge and were also looking to contact the two people that he was last seen with. Later that day, at 8:30 p.m., a body was found floating in the Port Edgar region near South Queensferry. The next day, the body was positively identified as Scott Hutchinson.
Although no immediate cause of death was named, it was soon revealed that Scott had indeed died by suicide. He was just 36 years old. His heartbroken bandmates issued this statement. There are no words to describe the overwhelming sadness and pain that comes with the death of our beloved Scott, but to know he is no longer suffering brings us some comfort. Reading messages of support and hope from those who he has helped through his art has helped immensely, and we encourage you all to continue doing this. He will be missed by all of us, and his absence will always be felt, but he leaves a legacy of hope, kindness, and color that will forever be remembered and shared. So it's not a surprise that the fourth would play a role in Scott's demise. It seems like he was always aware that it would, and he told us as much. A track from the Midnight Organ Fight was named Floating in the Fourth, and it contained these lyrics. Fully clothed, I float away, down the fourth into the sea. Am I ready to leap? Is there peace beneath the roar of the Fourth Road Bridge? I think I'll save suicide for another year.
Wow.
So he
was premeditated for a long
That
time.
was
a long
Yeah, that
time.
was his second album.
Yes, years before.
Yeah.
Floating in the fourth. From the Fourth Road Bridge, exactly where he went missing. So, he knew for a long time.
Sure.
That was his destiny.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, man, that was the story of... And look, anyone who listens to this, if there's that tiny chance that maybe, this is not a very old story.
No.
If there's a tiny chance that any friends or family of his listen, we mean nothing.
I'm going to go check out his music. I really want to check. Yeah, I really want to.
And just know that we could talk about literally anything, and we will eventually rabbit trail off into crazy other whatever else. But we mean no disrespect to Scott or his friends or family or his legacy. So,
no, we don't.
If anything, I want people to go check him out. Listen to Frightened Rabbit. I listened to, I don't know, I went to each album and listened to probably 3 or 4 songs off each one. I didn't hear one I didn't like. So go check out Frightened Rabbit or any of his other projects. He was a really, really good musician.
Do you mind to pull up that suicide number, the hotline? We sometimes when we talk about some stuff like this, we like to throw it out just in case there could be a chance someone could be listening and we could throw it out and they could call, and it could help.
Yeah, we've read it before, right? Yeah.
And I'll just say, one thing I you don't know if it's ever going to help, but it's worth a shot. One thing I try to tell kids sometimes is if you want to truly be a brave person, find the person that seems out of place, that seems like they're out of it, and just say hi and talk to them. That is incredibly hard, and you all know that, and I feel like all of us here are good humans about that. But it's very hard to see the kid eating lunch by themselves and be the one person that goes. I mean, sometimes you see a group of kids do that, and that's awesome, but it's very hard to be the one kid that's the only kid, especially if they have something about them that everyone else wants to push them away. It's very hard to be that kid that'll walk up and, hey, I'm going to eat lunch with you today for no reason really, other than just going to be nice.
Here's a depressing statistic. So this is 2018, 2014, so it looks like the average, and this is just in the U.S., the average amount of suicides per year is anywhere from 40 to 50,000.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So
the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is 1-800-273-8255.
Yes. Help is out there.
And take it from someone who's been deep in the muck themselves. And I mean, I've talked about it before. I mean, it's something that's crossed my mind in the past and something I've been super close to. And actually, I wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for my stepdad. So shout out to Cliff, who listens sometimes, and that's the God's honest truth. But there's always going to be you could be in a world of shit, but it'll always get better eventually. Yeah. I mean, that's an irrefutable fact. It absolutely will. It might take a day or month or a year, but it will. It'll get better. So Anyway, go ahead.
So a year and a half ago, Joe and I had a former bandmate that passed away under mysterious circumstances. Yeah. That was a very, very rough experience for all involved. He was missing for several days.
Yeah, we talked about it on here.
Yeah, and that was really hard. And then when they finally discovered his body, it's just the whole thing is really heartbreaking, because you think when something like that happens to somebody, you're like, you're thinking, well, could I have done something different? Could I have said something different?
Yeah.
To change his mind on something like that. And I hadn't talked to him, we texted a lot, but we hadn't for probably 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
You can't help but think back on, could you have done something, one little thing that might have changed something.
And you were probably the closest to him out of all of us in the band. You and him, because like you would go.
we traveled together and all that.
Yeah. But I talked about him a lot throughout that time because for how many years was he with us in the band?
Almost 4.
Okay, and
4 years.
I was like, I was just talking about all the hundreds of hours on the road because Tuffy had the bus. We would all most of the time we would all be together on the same bus to and from shows, and you're sitting beside him for hours and hours, and then you play for 3 hours, but then between those 3 hours there's breaks, and Sam, you guys all know, and then before you got to be there 3 hours early, and then you're there 2 hours after. So you're basically, you spend a lot of time with the guy.
And you mentioned the numbers. One thing that's out there that sadly these numbers are out there, but the experts generally agree that if you have someone threatening, that's one thing. Yes, take it seriously. But whenever they have details about a plan, how they might accomplish it, that is when it becomes a new level.
Yeah.
So that is when you're really supposed to intervene. So if you're wondering, when do I intervene? Well, obviously all the time, but that's the moment that they say that it becomes very real is when they say how they might do it.
Yep. And then there's the majority or the people that say nothing.
Yeah. Well, that's another ball game right there.
I know several people several people have committed suicide, and one that attempted it and was unsuccessful, actually 2. And actually none of them, I don't think I would have had a clue. That's what's creepy. And the friend that James and I are talking about, it all boils down to just, sometimes you're faced with something that, I don't know, you just might feel overwhelmed by or something and didn't want to deal with. So, but no clue there and no clue with any of the others really. And I would almost say someone that was going around saying they're going to do it all the time would almost be like looking for attention, but at the same time, you can't just cast that off as attention.
Sure, dare them to do it,
Don't
ever do that.
Yeah, man.
Take it from us. We're a comedy podcast.
Yeah, I know, right? Except for the last 10 minutes.
Exactly.
I feel like it's kind of neat because every so often we have the same kind of conversation, but maybe it's just one of those things as a public service, we should. So there we go.
There you go.
We did it.
Yeah. And hey, man, what's the 2 masks? It's like comedy and tragedy. Go hand in hand. So, you can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
So on that somber note.
Well, Charlie Chaplin, speaking of that, Charlie Chaplin, a quote by him as life is a tragedy when viewed up close, but a comedy when viewed afar.
There you go. Yes.
There we go.
That is beautifully put. I think we should end it on that. Let me tell you about some fellas I know named Ivan, Sam, and Joe. They got themselves a little podcast, And they talk about everything under the sun that they find interesting, spooky, or fun. They sure ain't trying to impress no one. The remedy to too much time on your hands is take a little listen to the dawn of Manti. They talk about killers, monsters, and cults, French mates from hell, disappeared folks. Occasionally throw in a few dad jokes. They try to make every story extra nice by adding their own ginger spice. Not one time or 2, but thrice. The remedy to too much time on your hands is take a little listen to the dawn of Manti. Now I'm sure these fellas will be around for quite a spell, 'cause there sure ain't no shortage of stories to tell. 'Cause this old world's as weird as hell. But hell, even if nobody listened, they'd maintain a fine disposition, 'cause shooting the breeze is kind of their mission. The remedy to too much time on your hands is take a little listen to the dawn of man.
spending too much time on your answers. Take a little listen to the dawn of Manti.